Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to look at Twisted Dark Volume 1 by Neil Gibson. Now, Twisted Dark is a graphic novel series. There are 6 volumes in total, and each of these volumes consist of several short horror stories. Now, these horror stories do seem quite disconnected at first, but as the volumes go on, they do start to connect, and you start to piece together the bits and pieces that set these like in the same universe. Think of it kind of like Black Mirror. If you've seen Black Mirror, it's that sort of style. It's different stories, but they're all set in the same universe, and there are hints that they overlap. Now, I've read the first 3 or 4 volumes of this before, I can't remember exactly. Now, I originally read these years ago. I saw it at Comic-Con, I loved reading through it then. I think volume 3 or 4 was out, but volume 5 or 4 wasn't. I don't remember which one I finished on. But I definitely read the first 3 volumes. I think I read volume 4, but I'm not 100% sure. But now all 6 volumes are out, I do plan to reread them, read volume 1 through volume 6, review all 6 volumes, and then kind of do a connections video at the end where I piece together all the bits and pieces that link them all together. So, as I said, I haven't read these in several years. I've read some of it before, and I did enjoy it. Anyway, enough with the introduction. I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Now, I can't say too much about each of these individual stories because they are quite short, so if I told you much about the plot, it would kind of spoil it. Basically, all you need to know is these are kind of short horror stories. They are focused more on psychological horror than gore. Now, there is a tiny bit of gore in one story and very brief bit of it in another story. However, these are very much psychological more than disgusting. Now, I've noticed a lot of manga and stuff, it seems to be a lot of the horror is focused on body horror and gore and stuff like that. And there isn't really much of that in this at all. There's one scene where it's gory, but it's very brief, and it's quite effective because of how brief the gore is throughout the entire comic. Because you're not expecting gore, and when you see it, it's quite shocking and disgusting. But then it's over. It's not very, very graphic. It's just kind of sort of thing you see in a 15-rated movie. It's not too explicit, but it's kind of shocking, and it kind of does its effect. Now, I think this gore was handled really well in the actual comic, because it is mostly psychological, so a tiny bit of gore is quite shocking and unexpected. And this kind of really adds to the plot, because it kind of captures you in the moment. Because you're meant to be shocked, you're meant to be horrified, and because it's quite brief and it's not like very explicit, it's just kind of a bit gory. Nothing you wouldn't see in like an action movie or a light horror movie. Nothing like too violent or anything like that. So if you're worried about like not reading it because it's too gory, don't worry, there's very, very little gore, and it is very much focused on the psychological aspect, and the gore is just there to add effect to one certain scene, which was quite a powerful scene as well when you read through it. I don't want to say what the scene is because I don't want to spoil it, but it was very effective in conveying like what the author was going for in that scene. It's meant to be shocking, and you're meant to be like, oh my god, like that just happened, and it works really, really well. And apart from that, there's very, very little gore, if none, throughout the rest of the comic. Now, I really like how psychological these stories are, because you are reading through it and you know something bad or dark is going to happen, but you don't know what it is. As you're reading through it, you can guess as you're going through it, you're like, I think I know where it's going, and usually you're wrong. Usually you get the complete wrong idea. So I like that isn't predictable, even though you are expecting a dark twist and that sort of thing. There's not a point where I'm like, oh, I know this is going to happen next, I know this is going to happen next. No, it does keep you guessing throughout each story. And I wouldn't say there was a point where I was like, I could predict what was going to happen in every single one, because each story is so unique and different, and like they all go for different sort of horror themes. Like, it's not just a slasher, 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 slasher. It's a lot more focused on like different genres of horror and like the different types of psychological horror, and that can go through a variety of ways. I don't really want to spoil it, but there are lots of different types of horror in this series, and it's not just one focused thing over and over and over again. I also like how these stories are open-ended. Now, they are quite short stories, but they're not usually a definitive ending for the characters a lot of the time. Usually it ends the story, but there's still more they could do in the future with these characters or these things they set up, and I don't want to say too much about that. Just, it does feel like with certain characters that are open-ending, and I'm hoping to see these characters revisit in the later volumes. Now, I do remember from when I read it years ago that there are characters that do link back. I don't remember how directly these characters are involved, but I do remember reading later stories, and I remember piecing together thinking, oh yeah, that's from Volume 1, or that's from Volume 2. And you start to piece together the overall story, and they all are slightly connected, so I do like how they're going to expand upon these open endings with the characters and what they got up to, and I'm really looking forward to reading through that again and piecing together the pieces. Now, the series does deal with sensitive issues such as the drug trade, slavery, suicide, and that sort of thing. However, I never really felt it got explicit. If you are a sensitive reader, you might want to pass upon this though, because it is horror. It is focused on these disturbing parts of life. However, even with the focus on these themes, it never really felt explicit or exploitative, and it felt more it was like part of the story, and it never really felt like they were doing something just for the sake of being disgusting or trying to gross you out. On that topic, though, there was one short story that I don't want to say too much about, because the spoilers, obviously, but it was about terrorism, and I felt it was kind of cheap compared to the rest of the stories. Like, it felt very, not lazily written, but the plot kind of was, like, just kind of meant to be there to shock you. And I liked the idea of what they were going for. It was just the actual execution of this story I didn't think worked very well. So I kind of got what the author's intentions were, but I think it could have been executed better and maybe conveyed a bit better, because it felt a bit lazily written, just this one story. However, the rest of the stories are great and well written, so don't let this one put you off. Just be aware there are sensitive themes and sensitive issues, so you might want to skip this if you are a sensitive person. So my favourite story in this book was probably one about the drug cartel, and it's basically the story of how someone gets into like the drug trade and how he starts operating that, it kind of reminds me of The Godfather Part 1. Kind of guys like descent into the drug trade and how that happens. And it is a short story, but it is quite a bit longer than the rest of them, so you do get a really good insight into this character and how his life plays out in the drug trade, and that was really, really interesting. And I really love the artwork on this one as well. The artwork on this part was just absolutely brilliant. So one thing I loved in this book was the art style. The art style changes in every single story, so it's different for every single one, and there's such a good variety and different changes in the art. It was just great to look at. For example, in one volume there was it's set in Japan, and you have like a manga style art, and then the drug cartel one is a totally different art style, and every story has a different style of art, and they're all really good and great to look at, and they all just look fantastic, and the art in this book is brilliant and just beautiful. So in conclusion, I really enjoyed Twisted Dark Volume 1. I'm really excited to see where the series is going with the later volumes, and I think if you like Black Mirror and that sort of thing, you will enjoy this book as well. So with that said, I would give Twisted Dark a 4 out of 5. I would definitely say check this out. It only cost me, I think, 69p, which is equal to about $1, I think, on Comixology. I'll put a link in the description. So if it sounds something you might be interested in, it's pretty much $1 or 69p. You really can't go wrong with it. So if you do like graphic novels or comics, I would say check this one out. So next week, I'm either going to be looking at The Last Witch, the first book in the Witcher series, or Twisted Dark Volume 2. It depends how much time I have between now and next week. I will let you guys know on Twitter or whatever, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, my link's in the description. Anyway, with that said, guys, I hope you enjoy, and until next time, this is JJ Goodman, over and out.